Welcome to Owie and Sandy Math Along. I'm Sandy.
And I'm Ollie!
I had several students this morning ask me when am I going to put out videos for the assignment this week. It is in the AppleRouth study guide, ACT workbook, page, I have to cheat and look at my board, 401 to 403, 1 through 10. I made 9 a bonus question, so if you do number 9, great, you can get extra credit. If you don't do it or you do it wrong, no penalty. Here's number 1 though on the assignment. I'm doing this on my lunch break. You're welcome. I just don't have a lot of time in my life at the moment. So what is the value of x? Remember, your questions are a little bit different than mine, but we are given a triangle and a straight line that extends out from the bottom leg or base of our triangle. So remember, every triangle has a total of 180 degrees. If you forget that, remember this formula. It works for all shapes. N minus 2 times 180, where n is the number of sides. Okay, so a side note here for you. A triangle has 1, 2, 3 sides. 3 minus 2 is 1. So 180, okay, which we already knew, right? 180 degrees. Now, do we have all of the different angles in our triangle to where we could make it equal 180? Well, we don't exactly. We have 80 and 53. So we have 80 plus 53. We do not know this one, okay? But we know if we add it to 133, it should give us 180, okay? This one plus this one plus this one should be 180. So what we could do to find this missing angle is subtract the other two. Okay, I get 47. Now we have to look at the fact we have a straight line down here. So 47 plus whatever x is, okay, gives us that half circle or a straight line, which is 180. Okay, so once again, 180. If we take away the 47 right here, will give us what x is equal to. Okay, I don't have my microphone with me today either, so hopefully y'all can hear me okay. We end up with 133 as our answer. Okay, remember your problem's a little different. But if you notice, this is equal to the sum of the two angles that were given. Now, in a triangle, that is going to work every time. If you're not given this angle, but you want the exterior, this exterior angle, if it makes 180 degrees, if it makes a straight line, is going to equal these two angles, okay? If it's not a triangle, if it's, some other kind of quadrilateral, if you have a pentagon, something like that, it's going to be different. So it's good to know those steps to go all the way through. We add these, subtract from 180, and then we subtract that from 180 to get our x. I feel like I talked way too much in that. So hopefully this is understandable, and if you have any questions, you can comment below or see me in class. Number 2, we are given A and B are parallel. Remember that symbol means parallel. It's not an 11. It's not two I's or L's. C and D are parallel. So A and B, and you're going to see this in geometry. You put those two little arrows. It might occur anywhere on that line, but that means that they have two parallel lines. We are given 75 up here in this corner we're given x is this value, y is this value, and we're asked to find the sum of x and y. So I've already had a few people turn this in to me, and they told me what x is, or they told me what y is, or they circled each of them, but they forgot to give me the sum of x and y. And that's what we're looking for. Make sure when you're taking tests or doing these homeworks that you know exactly what you're being asked, okay? Now, on here we have the parallel lines and parallel lines. One set of parallel lines actually acts as transversals, okay? So these are parallel. I have a transversal, a transversal. This is kind of doubling up the notes that I gave you in class with the big angle, small angle thing, okay? So remember, you can imagine, or if you have time, you can do it. If you were to take a pair of scissors, cut this angle, pick that up and set it right here, it would be identical to these angles. Therefore, I can say x goes here because it is, oh my gosh, why is the word failing me right now? Starts with a C. Okay. So it also goes up here. If I took this same one and placed it here, my x would go there. And if I took it and put it here, my x goes there. Okay? So another way to look at it, as opposed to thinking about cutting it and moving it, is to say the top left of each intersection is x. Okay? Now, if we took this and cut it out and placed it here, my 75 moves right there. Same here, same here. The top right of each intersection is going to be 75. Now the same with y. The bottom right of every single one is y for the same reason. Now if we see here, we don't know this corner. The bottom left corner is a question mark. But we did that rule about vertical angles. And in vertical angles, meaning they cross the intersection at each other, right? Looking at each other across that intersection is congruent. So the bottom left on everyone is 75. By that same rule, if we cross this intersection, we have x and y. But they're vertical angles to each other, which means they are congruent, or the same measurement. So I can actually determine x is equal to y. Which is pretty sweet. Okay? So whatever we find for x is going to be the same for y or vice versa. All right, so now we have to figure out one of those two numbers. Well, I do notice something else here. I notice if I take 75 and x, and put those together, that makes a half circle or a straight line, okay? Now, if you look at it a little bit more sideways, and you can do that, y is this angle, right? Plus the 75 next to it also makes a half circle or a straight line. So we can say 75 plus x is 180. Because a straight line is 180 degrees. Same over here. I mean, if we went this direction, we could say 75 plus y is 180. It doesn't matter which one you do because we already know x equals y. They're both correct. Doesn't matter which one you do or if you do both. Okay? So in either case, we subtract 75 from both sides. And again, you only have to do one of these. But in either case, we get x is equal to 105 or y is equal to, oh, it's 115. Erase, erase. Okay? It doesn't matter which one you do or if you do both, they're equal. Okay, so you only have to do one of these. I'm going to do both just to show you in case you did it a different way. X is equal to, let's borrow, okay, 105, y, same thing, 105. So x plus y is the question being asked. Don't circle 105. That's wrong. because the question asks you, what is the sum of x and y? Well, both x and y are 105. Let's add those up, and we get the actual answer 210. That's not the answer on yours. You have different numbers, as always. Number 3, you are given this picture. You're told L and M are parallel. Again, that is parallel. That's not an 11. That's not a triple I or double I or whatever. So L and M are parallel. They have a transversal. They give you some variables and a value and tell or ask what is A plus B plus C. So always, 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 I said this on number 3 as well, look at what they're asking. Don't give me the value of just A or B or C. You have to add them up. What is their sum? Okay, so remember that's what we're looking for. Looking up here, this one is actually fairly straightforward. Okay, I use the real value because I'm not actually giving you the answer on this one. You're doing it yourself. But remember, what's a vertical angle? Okay, vertical angles are across an intersection. So if this is 110, we follow that line, and across the intersection, they are congruent. Okay? We also, I'll use a different color. Remember, if two angles make that half circle together, 110 and C, okay, that's that straight line. It's equal to, I don't want to write it there. I don't want you to get confused thinking that it's this angle over here. But the line is a total of 180. So adding these gives 180, okay? And then the third thing I want to remind you of, which we did on the last problem as well, just so you see that's a C 110. Remember, if I cut either of these, but let's say I cut this out with scissors, okay? Let me draw the little scissors. That's cute, okay. So I cut this out, I pick this part of the board up, and I put it here. It is going to overlay perfectly one on top of the other, and you have corresponding angles. That's the word I couldn't think of in the last problem. Corresponding angles. So these 4 are the exact same as these 4. Okay? So when I pick this up and put it here, this A ends up on top of that B. That means they're the same. Okay? All right. I've given you 3 big hints here using each of the different things that we learned about. The angles together, if it makes a straight line, is a linear pair. That's 180 degrees. Putting this on top of this because they're parallel with the transversal means that they are corresponding. They're the same exact at the intersections. And the third thing was to remember what a vertical pair looks like. At that intersection, they're looking at each other across, okay, across that center point. Hope that helps. Number 4. Number 4. I forgot to film this yesterday, and I'm not even wearing makeup today, which really stinks. And now people are ringing my doorbell because they want to come in. Just gotta wait. All right. So we're given this picture. We're given a degrees of 41 here, in degrees here, and we know that J and K are perpendicular, so they make a 90-degree angle. We want to find N. I use slightly different numbers, okay? So if we are looking for N, remember if we follow the line, both lines that make N, vertical angles are congruent, so this is also N. If we follow the lines for 41, which are those two, that is also congruent, vertical angles, 90 degrees, okay, and our origin here, you come across, those are also congruent. Okay, so that's going to be 90. The other thing here to keep in mind is that if you have these angles making that straight line, together they have to be 180. Okay, so I have n plus 41 plus 90 is 180. N plus, that would be 131 equals 180. Subtract 131 from both sides, and we get n is equal to 49 degrees. Okay? That would be our answer. Here we have number 5. Okay? I have a parallelogram, QRST. Okay? QRST. It may kind of, on yours, look like a perfect rectangle, but it's not. Now, a perfect rectangle is a parallelogram. That's true. But you cannot assume that the angles are all 90 just because it looks like they're all 90. Because trust me, they're not. Okay? Mine has a different value. I said if A equals 280, what is B? Oops, 280. No. I'm doing this quickly on my lunch break, so just deal with the typos as they are. During class, I gave you guys a brief note on this. If you look at the outer angle, in addition to the inner angle, it is a circle, okay? And a circle is 360 degrees. Now, what we're looking at here is a little opposite of the notes that I gave you all. We say the outside is 280, okay? Just that outside. If we add it to this part, we would get 360 total, okay? So what we're going to do is take 360 and subtract the 280 that we know. So we're actually subtracting this part from the circle to find out just this angle that's left inside. Okay? Simple subtraction. I don't know why. It's my lunch break. I can't think. 0 minus 0 is 0. I'm going to borrow from the 2. 16 minus 8. Okay, and we end up with exactly 80 degrees. Okay, of course yours is different. You have different numbers. But that is how you do it and why you do it. If you have questions, leave me a comment. And it looks like lunch is about over. I have kids lining up outside my door for 5th period. So at least I got half of these done for you today.